Meetings can have lasting meaning, and a meeting on Jekyll Island, Georgia 100 years ago this month was an important moment in the evolution of U.S. central banking. That meeting is also the reason for the gathering here today. An important outcome of the 1910 meeting was a proposal for an institution with multiple branches, which became in part the model for the decentralized structure of the Federal Reserve System. A series of financial panics, culminating in the Panic of 1907, prompted Congress to undertake a series of steps toward reforming the nation's monetary system to promote macroeconomic stabilization. Congress passed the Aldrich-Vreeland Act in 1908, establishing an 18-member National Monetary Commission chaired by Rhode Island Senator Nelson Aldrich. The commission was charged with finding a way to reform the nation's monetary system, but progress was slow, and by 1910, the commission could not agree on a plan. Aldrich took matters into his own hands, meeting with a group of bankers on Jekyll to formulate a plan. The group included bankers Paul Warburg, Henry Davidson, and Frank Vanderlip. Also present were Aldrich's secretary, Arthur Shelton, and A. Piet Andrew, a Treasury official. Warburg's attendance was critical because of his knowledge of European banking practices. Aldrich was well aware that his meeting with bankers outside of the commission proceedings would generate controversy, which is why the group met at the remote Jekyll Island location. What emerged from the Jekyll meeting was the so-called Aldrich Plan, presented to the National Monetary Commission as a legislative blueprint. It became a catalyst for debate about the role of the government and banking in the central bank's governance. Representing a departure from the centralized governments of European central banks, the plan proposed that a National Reserve Association would function as the U.S. central bank. The association would consist of a federation of 15 regional bank associations, each to be presided over by boards of directors elected by the local banks. Aldrich's proposed central bank would promote economic stability by providing for greater financial stability. Though the bill Aldrich put forward to the U.S. Senate in January 1912 was not acted on, many of the proposals that came out of the Jekyll meeting remained at the core of the subsequent steps in the creation of the Federal Reserve. After the election of Woodrow Wilson in 1912, Congressman Carter Glass of Virginia, who had led an investigation into the concentration of power on Wall Street, assumed leadership of monetary reform, along with Senator Robert L. Owen. The Glass-Owen bill kept the key macroeconomic stabilization mechanisms of the Aldrich Plan, but provided for 8 to 12 districts with a reserve bank in each district. The difference that stood out the most was the governance of the central bank. The debate about a U.S. central bank had been mired in counter-arguments about who would control the system, bankers or appointed government officials. One compromise to resolve this disagreement involved reserve bank governance. Of the 9-member Reserve Bank Board of Directors, only 3 could be bankers. The others were to be engaged in commerce, industry, or agriculture. Another was that the Federal Reserve Board in Washington, D.C. would be the oversight and coordinating agency. The reconciled bill was passed as the Federal Reserve Act and signed into law by President Wilson in 1913. The 12 reserve banks opened about a year later. At the time, the board was made up of 2 ex officio members, the Secretary of the Treasury and the Comptroller of the Currency, and 5 other members appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate. This centenary conference will examine how well the Federal Reserve's historical performance has matched the vision of its conceptual founders, both at Jekyll and in Congress, and what the Fed's near 100-year track record offers for its role going forward.